Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Sunday the 17th of November, and I've been worked away for the last few days back in the garage to carry on with another episode on the A70, and still focusing on the primary drive side and trying to keep a bit of progress going, which has been a bit difficult of late. Firstly, just thanks very much to all those new subscribers. There's been quite a few added in the last week or so, so thanks very much everyone for your interest and any comments. I do try and respond to most of those as and when I can, but as I'm getting quite a few now, I might have to do that on a particular slot on each day rather than just trying to keep viewing them as they sort of stream in. But anyway, that's by the way. Let's crack on and see what we can get done today. And the good news is that next weekend I'm going to be home alone, so we'll get a stack done on hopefully this. And also by the side of it on the bench is the first built Fury SS motor there, still waiting now to be stripped for its final build. So I'm thinking of doing a session on that to strip that down next weekend, ready its final build up, so we can then put it into the rolling chassis that's waiting there for it on the lift. So plenty to do, and everything being lined up to get hopefully the whole collection over to the international show in Stafford end of next April, together with, obviously there's far side, there's the Lightning rolling chassis there, then we've got Rocket 3 there. At the back there you can just see the tank of the Fury, and at the moment I've still got the Friends Bandit that I built up in here as well, and that's here because we've borrowed the Auto Advance unit off it for a friend to get one made up, and that's coming along quite well as well. So whether we'll have that here next year or not, I don't know. But anyway, that's just a quick update. Plenty to do. So back to the lighting. Let's get it set up here. And the first thing we're going to do is carry on where we left off and just get the little chain oiler from the primary case installed. And you remember last time we left it, one, we nearly forgot about this. But secondly, cleaning it up, etc., we needed to get the actual drip hole cleaned out. It's absolutely clogged up, and so I've had to buy one or two new drill bits of the right size. So I opened it up first, I cleaned it out with a 1mm, then a 1.5mm, then a 2mm diameter bit, and that's worked out really well. So that's ready to go with its bolt, fibre washer. So on the bike itself, the light's not very good here, but I'll set a light up and we're going to be working in there. Again, get that finished off at last around the sprocket, because after we've fitted this, we can then finally get the back plates on the back side of the sprocket on as well, which has been ready to go for a little while. So that's what we're up to. Let's get on with it, and I'll finish blabbering on. There you go, there's a bit of a better view of the space at the back of the engine, this side of the rear engine plate, and at the back of the sprocket. So the little chain oiler screws into the back of that case there. First thing we need to do is, so here it is. So it sits at the back there, obviously with the drip feed down, but we need to put a little bit of tubing on that so it sits closer to the chain. So we've got a bit of tube, so we'll sort that out first and then we'll be back. Okay, and we'll make some progress at last. Give me a second, I'll bring you back. Okay, there she is installed. Screw at the top, and before I do that, so you'll get your bearings about it. But go out, there we go, lead light underneath. Okay everyone, there's a shot of the oiler fitted from the other side of the engine, and what we've got to do now is put the black blanking plate over that will cover that gap there, and you can just see the top mounting screw hole for that plate. So we'll fit that now. One screw at the top and two at the bottom. Bit awkward to get at, and I was thinking about this and thinking, well, would it have been easier to try and install some of this before I put the motor in the frame? And I suppose the answer is yes, probably, but then on the counter side of that, getting in the sprocket to feed the chain and things like that is just going to be awkward, and you have to take the plate off to get the engine in and out. Anyway, so the answer is probably the way to do it is like this, because the reason that plate is there and detachable is so you can actually move the mounting bolts, the engine mounting bolts on the engine plates. Otherwise you can't get them out. There's just not enough room to take them out of the holes. Right, so let's get that plate on at last. Okay everyone, at last, plate in, screwed up, one at the top there, two at the bottom, and that completes the cover over the sprocket. Simple as that. Right, so now we can move on to primary drive itself. Okay, back at the bench then, sorting out the parts for the primary drive. I've been through these before, but just to recap, because I've just added a few bits and pieces. So at the crank end we've got the spacer that goes behind the sprocket, then the sprocket. In front of the sprocket goes all the rotor and the alternator side of it, but we won't deal with that now. But I have sorted out the nut, its washer, and most importantly the tab washer for that end too. Then the centre we've got the slipper tensioner, which is still serviceable. Its adjuster, which is original in good condition but needs a rubber dome just making up, which I'll do from an old footrest rubber, and we'll glue it in there. It doesn't necessarily have to have glue because it sits in there under tension, but that's fine. Then of course we've got the clutch at this end with its spacer and its nut. And what we need to do now, we've already examined the chain, and that seems to be fine. All the teeth etc on the clutch basket and on the sprocket are all good and not worn, and this was in oil, so it's in pretty good condition. So all I'm going to do now is just go through the plates in that clutch. As you can see, I've cleaned up the front plate, because obviously you have to remove that with its adjuster screws and springs and cups etc to get the clutch off. And as you can see, it's cleaned up really well and it's in very good condition, so that's a good omen, as are the cups etc. I need to check the free length of the springs, but they appear to be good, and certainly the adjusting nuts, where I seem to have lost one now, there it is. The adjusting nuts are in pretty good condition, not chewed up, so that bodes well. Also the centre adjuster for the pull, the push rod, shows a few marks on it but not bad at all, so that's fine. So let's just have a look at some of these plates one by one. We'll take them out one by one, we will clean them up, but I'm hoping to leave this clutch in one piece. We'll take the plates out just to check the rollers at the back. So we need to end up with a driving plate at this end, and you can see they've got a bit of oil, dirty oil on them, but they're not scored. Some of the driven plate. Again, looks in pretty good condition, and there's plenty of friction material left on that. Good news as well is that this clutch had not glued all its plates together, like some that sit for quite a while. The oil in between them can become quite a good resinous glue and seize the clutch, but this is free, so that's good. So I'll need to get two hands actually, just to get the rest of these plates out, and once I've got them out I'll bring you back. Okay, that's all the plates out. There were two plates stuck together, but they were pretty much easy enough to prise apart. There we can see the basket and the central cush drive. The cush drive hub screws are good, don't look as though they've been touched, and there's no up and down play in that that hub. Of course it is it's slightly loose, but that's supposed to be that. It needs to be floating to a certain extent. Maybe a little tiny bit of up and down play, but nothing significant. So that's good. So what I'll do now is just clean up the basket with a bit of gunk, degreaser, and similarly the plates, and we'll reassemble that. Okay, all the plates cleaned up and all the components too. I'm really pleased with the condition of this. It's fantastic. Hardly any evidence of wear at all. The plates are all good. Everything's cleaned up really well. So luckily, even though this engine's probably had a bit of abuse, it looks as though that it did retain its oil in the chain case, which is good. When I had my first British bike, which was a 1968 A65 Lightning, I bought that in about 1977. I was going down a motorway when all of a sudden it started making noises, and eventually the motor didn't sort of lock up, but it did tighten up. And actually what happened was that the chain case oil had all drained out. The slipper tensioner had been shredded. The chain was flapping about and jumped sprockets and jammed the clutch basket against the crankcase. Anyway, it was easy enough to repair, but I was a bit lucky there. But it just goes to show you've got to keep checking the oil in the chain case, because it's totally separate to the rest of the motor. So anyway, that's in good condition. Other quick thing is got the spacer that goes on the front side of the slipper tensioner spindle. Also sorted out tab washers. So what we've got here is this is the big washer that goes in the centre of the clutch, like so, with the clutch nut. This is the nut that eventually will go on the outside of the rotor. The washer goes underneath that, and the tab washer goes underneath that. So there is both a washer and a tab washer on this side, which is correct. And then the final thing is the slipper tensioner adjuster. It's in very good condition. A little bit chewed at the top there, but not bad. But it is missing its little rubber dome to cushion the slipper tensioner against it under pressure. So I was going to make one out of a bit of old footrest rubber, but I looked in the old plumber's kit for tap washers, and that to me looks as though it'll do the job once I've cut it down slightly and take it off this plastics around. Yep, that is rubber. So we'll take that off, we'll fit it onto there, and then we'll put this lot together into the motor. Okay, I think that worked all right. Cut the rubber out, and I've pressed it in there with a bit of silicone sealer just to tack it down, but it will be under pressure most of the time from the slipper tension that sits on the top of it. But so that's worked quite well. So this needs to go in first, and then we can place that slot in, slide the tensioner in, and we should be there. So we'll go and set up on the get set up near the bike. Okay, slipper adjuster in with its washer and lock nut on the other side. Sprocket, crankshaft sprocket spacer is in there. That just pushes the sprocket. Ooh, hang on a minute, that's wrong way around. Sprocket needs actually to go into the oil seal, and this space has got to go on the outside of that. Let's just check that. quite sure about that. So we've definitely got the spacer, then the sprocket, and it's the flat side of the sprocket, which is the right hand side there, that goes down, which is correct. But the reason I'm umming and ahhing a bit is because pushing that spacer onto the shaft, there she goes. Oh, yeah, it's fine. I thought it wasn't creating a very good seal in the oil seal, but it is actually. I hadn't pushed it in far enough. So the oil seal is sealing against it. Good. I just hadn't pushed it in far enough. Anyway, always best to check. Right, next thing, we need to get that footrest out of the way. That was put on temporarily just to get everything together with a bit of the rolling chassis fit. So we'll get that out of the way. We've got the woodruff key in the main shaft, so we're ready to offer up the clutch, crankshaft sprocket, chain up as one, and then we'll fit the slipper tensioner on its spindle here. It slides right the way up, and then the spacer that goes on the outside of it. Before then, this spindle also then slots into the chain case cover, and to give it the support at this end. So we're getting there. Okay, there we are, everybody. Job done. So I slackened off the rear, the footrest mounting bolt, and that just is able to very carefully be let down gently once you've released the pegs at the back here. So that's out of the way, and then we're able to just slot everything on. So clutch centre goes onto the key where you've just got to make sure that lines up with the woodruff key, and the sprocket here onto its splines all in one go. Wasn't too bad at all. You can, because the chain's on at the back there, I was able to spin the main shaft so that it lined up, the woodruff key lined up with the slot in the centre of the clutch, and the splines lined up here. Went on pretty good. And also we've got the slipper tensioner on, we've got its spacer here, and then you've got the remaining part of that spindle as a stub goes into the outer case once that's on. We've just got the requisite washers and the nut on this side, just in preparation for when we do the alternator and the rotor, which will be the next video. This just needs tightening up to the proper tension, and then we can put the plate on here with the push rod in the centre. But anyway, that's the primary drive on. The chain is very good. It's not fully tensioned up yet, but it's not far off, and we've got plenty of thread left down here, so that's good. So there we are, another step forward with the primary drive. Quite a bit of progress at last, and tidied up a bit of the back end with respect to the chain oiler and the cover for the back side of the main sprocket as well, which we've been meaning to do for ages. So I think we'll leave it there for this video. Next video we'll focus on the rotor and the stator, and that will be pretty much the primary drive done, and then we can go back onto the other side and finish off the timing side with the auto advance points plate, and also the kickstart. Now we've got a new kickstart return spring. So that's it for now, everybody. Thanks very much for your interest. Thanks for any subscriptions. There have been a whole new raft of subscriptions recently, so thanks very much, everybody, for your interest, and thanks for any comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye bye.